Freedom, the word itself, evokes images of soaring eagles, endless open skies, and the deep, unrestrained breath of a soul unbound. Yet for many of us, true freedom feels like a distant dream, locked behind invisible walls built not of chains or cages, but of fear, not the fear of physical confinement, but a subtler, more pervasive fear, the fear of conflict. It's a strange contradiction because we long for liberty, but when that freedom demands we confront disagreement or opposition, we often pull back. We want to live honestly, speak our truth, and chase our dreams, but when the route to that truth leads to confrontation or discomfort, many of us retreat, preferring the false peace of avoidance. Friedrich Nietzsche, the fierce philosopher of willpower and human transformation, cut straight to this paradox. He understood that genuine freedom isn't attainable without the bravery to face conflict directly. Nature itself makes this point clear, boldly asserting that conflict and freedom are inseparable. Only by embracing the inevitable struggles can we shed illusions of safety and truly learn what it means to live as authentically free individuals. The ancient wisdom captured in the lesson, "The snake which cannot shed its skin must die," also applies to our minds. Just as a snake must outgrow its old skin, our thoughts and beliefs need to be challenged and shed to grow. When our opinions are rigid and unchangeable, we stop evolving. Stagnant, we lose our freedom. Conflict, in all its forms, serves as the skin we must discard. It disrupts comfort, pushes us into discomfort, and compels us to expand our horizons. It's the catalyst for transformation, pushing our minds and spirits beyond previous limits. Think about it. When have you experienced the most growth? Was it during calm, uneventful periods when you just went along with things? Or was it during the stormy times when you had to stand your ground, question assumptions, or fight for what you truly believed in? Growth almost always comes with tension. It demands us to accept disagreement and take on opposition, even when it's uncomfortable. Our natural tendency is to shy away from this, encouraged by fear whispering, "Stay quiet, don't stir the waters, avoid the fight." But that fear, while understandable because conflict can cause pain, rejection, or uncertainty, keeps us trapped, locked behind walls of illusion and passivity. We mistake avoidance for peace, but in doing so, we surrender our freedom. To truly break free, we need to redefine conflict. Instead of seeing it as a threat to our liberty, we should recognize conflict as essential to our growth and authenticity. It functions like a mirror, reflecting our deepest desires, our boundaries, and our core values. Through conflict, we claim our individuality and affirm our right to live life on our own terms. In this conversation, I want to share 6 key ways that embracing conflict can liberate you from the chains of fear and limitation. Each of these points uncovers a different aspect of growth: how conflict sharpens your character, broadens your freedoms, and guides you towards a richer, more genuine life. This isn't about glorifying chaos or needless fighting. It's about understanding that the journey to true freedom inevitably involves navigating through conflict's terrain. Just like the transformational hero who overcomes their own limitations and societal barriers, you too can step beyond your fears and claim your freedom by embracing conflict courageously. If you're ready to shed the shackles of fear and live boldly, don't skip any part of this message. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, because this path demands your full attention and commitment. Before we dive into the first point, I want you to affirm this in the comments: I choose freedom by facing conflict. Our first point: conflict as a mirror revealing your true self. When conflict surfaces, most people just feel overwhelmed. Fear, anger, confusion rush in, and the instinct is to shut down or smooth things over to preserve what little calm remains. But what if I told you that conflict isn't the enemy, but a reflection of your purest self? It's through conflict that you can discover what truly matters: your values, boundaries, and deepest desires. Carl Gustav Jung once said that self-knowledge is the foundation of freedom. Without it, we're prisoners of external influences and internal illusions. He urged us to become who you are, But how can you do that without confronting the conflicts that challenge your identity and force you to clarify your limits? Conflict strips away superficial layer social masks. Politeness, disguising forces us to face our true emotions and beliefs. When someone pushes your buttons, challenges your opinions, or disagrees with you, that's the moment of truth. It makes you ask, what do I really think? What do I really want? Where do I draw the line? For example, imagine a friend criticizes you unfairly. Your first instinct might be to avoid confrontation, agree just to keep the peace. But if you lean into that discomfort and ask yourself why that criticism hurts, you might uncover hidden insecurities or unmet needs for respect. Conflict then becomes an opening-gan opportunity for self-awareness. When you use conflict this way, it stops being something to fear. Instead, you welcome it as a powerful tool to understand yourself better. The more you do this, the clearer your values and boundaries become. That's the first step toward real freedom. The philosopher Carl Jung also reminded us that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Conflict exposes the unconscious forces, hidden fears, biases, unresolved wounds that guide us. When we face conflict intentionally, we take control of our lives instead of being passively driven by unseen emotions. Avoiding conflict keeps us trapped in a fog, disconnected from our authentic selves. Embracing conflict lights up our awareness and helps us own our identity. That's why nature viewed conflict not as a curse, but as a fortifier that shapes and refines the self. So, here's your first step. Next time you encounter conflict, resist the urge to run. Instead, ask yourself, what is this conflict revealing about me? Use it to clarify your values, strengthen your boundaries, and take ownership of who you are. It's not easy, a courageous act to face uncomfortable truths, but each honest confrontation builds the foundation for genuine freedom. Point 2. Conflict as the catalyst for personal growth. It's uncomfortable, that shaking of your beliefs, that questioning of your sense of security, that tearing apart of your carefully constructed reality. Because of this, many people avoid conflict at all costs, labeling it as destructive or harmful. But nature has a different view. It recognizes conflict as essential to growth, transformation, and the evolution of the self. Think of a sculptor chiseling a marble block. Without resistance, the marble remains raw and shapeless. Each strike of the chisel harsh, demanding blow carves out beauty and releases the sculpture within. In the same way, conflict acts as a chisel for our inner world, shaving away complacency, false comfort, and outdated beliefs. It reveals the strength and potential hidden underneath. Remember that famous maxim, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. This isn't just a toss-off phrase, it's a profound truth about human development. Every conflict, internal or external, pushes us past our limits and forces us to adapt, learn, and become more resilient. Facing challenges, disagreements, or even painful feedback often leads us to reconsider our perspectives, develop patience, assertiveness, empathy, and resilience, skills we wouldn't otherwise cultivate. Growth isn't automatic, though. It requires a mindset shift, seeing conflict not as a threat to peace, but as an opportunity to improve ourselves. The philosopher Carl Rogers emphasized that real change happens when we confront conditions of worth and incongruence, gaps between who we are and who we wish to be, especially during conflict. These moments of tension are where growth resides. So, the next time you feel conflict rising, ask yourself, how can this challenge help me grow? What can I learn from this struggle? This simple shift from avoiding conflict to welcoming it transforms it from something to fear into a catalyst for resilience. Walk willingly into the fire, knowing that it tempers your spirit like steel. Nature's philosophy urges us to embrace this process. Like a blacksmith working steel, we must be willing to endure the heat of conflict, knowing that it strengthens us. Psychologist Carl Rogers pointed out that significant personal growth happens when we meet conditions that otherwise reveal our gaps and vulnerabilities. These moments often arrive in conflict, presenting an opportunity to bridge the chasm between our current self and who we aspire to be. So remember, whenever conflicts appear, ask yourself, how is this helping me grow? What lessons does this challenge hold? When you do this, you align yourself with the natural flow of growth and freedom. Point 3. Conflict as a builder of courage and assertiveness. Society often romanticizes courage. Think of heroic battles, daring rescues, or grand gestures. But real courage is found in everyday actions. Standing your ground when others disagree, speaking your truth despite fear, setting boundaries even if it's uncomfortable. Nietzsche saw courage as fundamental to freedom because it enables us to act according to our own will despite fears or doubts. When we avoid conflicts, we deny ourselves opportunities to practice and strengthen that courage. This avoidance gradually erodes our self-respect and autonomy. Conflict, then, becomes the training ground for boldness. Each difficult conversation, each moment when you refuse to back down, exercises your ability to assert yourself. It teaches you that fear can be managed not as a sign to retreat, but as a signal to step forward. The concept of the will to power, introduced by Nietzsche, is relevant here, not about dominating others, but about affirming your life and values with strength and confidence. Recall a time when you spoke up despite feeling afraid. Maybe your hands shook, your heart raced. Those moments are signs of real courage. With each act of assertiveness, you reinforce your freedom, your right to have a voice and stand for your beliefs. Psychological research supports this. People who develop assertiveness are more likely to enjoy higher self-esteem, healthier relationships, and a greater sense of control over their lives. Conversely, passivity or conflict avoidance breeds resentment, frustration, and loss of personal freedom. If you want to become more free, cultivate courage through conflict. Start small, disagree respectfully, say no when you need to, express your feelings sincerely. Every small act of bravery builds muscle for bigger challenges ahead. Remember to affirm, I build courage by facing conflict. Point 4. Embracing uncertainty. One of the biggest fears people have about conflict is the uncertainty it brings. When disagreements happen, the outcome feels unpredictable. How will others respond? What will happen next? This unknown sparks anxiety, encouraging us to cling to control and avoid confrontation. But nature understood something vital. Chaos is part of growth. She said, you must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. Conflict is that chaos, unpredictable, often uncomfortable, sometimes frightening. Yet, within that chaos lies the spark of creativity, transformation, and new possibilities. To be truly free, you need to accept that not everything is within your control. Some conflicts will be messy, unresolved for a while, and that's okay. In that space of not knowing, you develop flexibility, adaptability, and resilience. Think about relationships, whether personal or professional. If you try to control every detail, you risk building resentment or shutting down honest dialogue. But if you allow conflict to unfold naturally, embracing its unpredictability, you foster deeper understanding and genuine connection. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard described this step as taking a leap of faith. Freedom demands that we step into the unknown. Every difficult conversation, every disagreement, is an act of faith in yourself and the process. Psychological studies show that people who accept ambiguity tend to experience less stress, more creativity, and increased openness to change. They're less likely to be paralyzed by fear or rigidity. So next time conflict arises, tell yourself, this uncertainty is part of my freedom. I trust that I can navigate whatever comes. Point 5. Conflict as a strengthener of emotional resilience. Strong emotions, anger, frustration, fear, sadness are natural responses to conflict. It's tempting to avoid these feelings altogether, but cultural wisdom teaches us that resilience, the ability to bounce back, is essential for true freedom. When you face conflict, you're forced to confront and manage these emotions instead of suppressing or ignoring them. Over time, this process builds emotional strength, letting you respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Think of it like developing a muscle. The more you face emotional challenges, the stronger you become. Resilience helps you stay grounded during turbulence, respond with clarity, and avoid being overwhelmed. Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychologist and Holocaust survivor, said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." Knowing your purpose and values makes emotional discomfort more manageable because you see it as part of a meaningful journey towards freedom. For example, in a disagreement at work, instead of letting anger steer your response, emotional resilience allows you to pause, understand your feelings, and choose a constructive reaction. This preserves your dignity and models maturity. Building this resilience also involves vulnerability, that emotions are part of the process. As Nietzsche famously said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Understanding your core purpose helps you tolerate emotional pain, turning it into a strength rather than a weakness. Point 6. Conflict as a pathway to authentic relationships. Many people avoid conflict because they fear losing relationships or causing pain. They've been told that peace comes from avoiding disagreements, that tension threatens bonds. But genuine connection, according to nature's wisdom, requires truthfulness and authenticity. If you avoid conflict entirely, you rob others of the chance to see your real self. Instead, superficial harmony prevails and genuine trust erodes. Real relationships are forged in the fires of honest expression, including disagreements and tension. Being authentic means having the courage to share your true thoughts and feelings, even when it risks friction. This form of honesty is a profound expression of freedom. When you shy away from conflict, you create emotional distance, leaving unresolved issues that breed resentment and dissatisfaction. On the other hand, healthy relationships thrive when conflict is embraced as part of growth. Psychologist Brené Brown highlights that vulnerability, willingness to show up fully, including our imperfections and conflicts, is the foundation of deep connection. Conflict gives us opportunities to be vulnerable, build trust, and clarify boundaries. It allows honest negotiation of needs and limits, preventing misunderstandings. By choosing authenticity over superficial peace, you transform relationships from fragile illusions into genuine bonds. This kind of truth-telling enriches your life and deepens your sense of belonging. So next time conflict appears in your relationships, see it not as a threat, but as an invitation for bigger honesty, trust, and connection. In conclusion, if you want to be truly free, you cannot afford to fear conflict. Nature's law shows us that conflict isn't an enemy, it's a vital part of our growth and strength. Through conflict, we discover ourselves, build courage, embrace uncertainty, strengthen our emotional resilience, and create authentic bonds. Freedom doesn't mean a world without disagreement, rather, it's the mastery of facing conflict with awareness and openness. The challenge is yours. Stop running from conflict. Instead, lean into it. Use every challenge as a stepping stone to your growth. Question your beliefs, defend your boundaries, and stay true to your values. Recognize conflict as your ally on the journey to freedom. Remember, like the wise call of nature saying, "I choose freedom by facing conflict." Begin today. Trust that with every confrontation, you are forging a stronger, more authentic you.